Hi everyone, Chris here with Rainbow Guys DIY. We decided to split this video into two sections. So the first video, we installed the sink and the faucet and repaired the drain pipe. Today we're going to install the new garbage disposal. I'll leave a link below to the first video in case you missed it. So this is our new garbage disposal. It's a 1/2 horsepower. It is a plug-in garbage disposal, because we do have an outlet right here that is controlled by the switch. If you have a hardwired garbage disposal, they typically address that in the instructions, so you should definitely read those. I have already watched a video, go figure, on how to install this. So I'm going to pull everything out of the box. So here are these actually instructions or just the
safety warnings?
Yeah, instruction sheet. Perfect. Okay. So today we get to cover plumbing and electrical. I'm quickly going to look over this just to make sure it's going to do what I think it's supposed to do. Oh, wait. I don't think you need that. Look at that being smart.
Huh.
So you actually don't need the little nut on the wire clamp because they have the hole threaded. Read your instructions. Keep nut on Romex. So it wants you to keep the nut on the connector and just tighten it all the way down until unit nut lays against the connector shoulder. Screw the Romex connector threaded barrel into the lower end frame and then tighten Romex connector nut against lower end frame. Now why don't you want to go in? So we have that in place. And the purpose of this is to keep your wires from wiggling. You don't want them wiggling in and out and all around, because then over time it will wear through the wires, and then the bare wire will be touching metal. Very bad. And everyone dies. Probably not, but still.
Don't be dramatic.
Okay. There we go. Now we've fished them through. Normally you would connect black to black, white to white. However, both of these are black. So, oh, here we go. The neutral wire is ribbed. The hot wire is smooth. So on the actual casing, I don't think you'll be able to see this on camera. This is the neutral, and it's actually ribbed. I don't know if you can see the reflection on it. There's little ridges on it.
It's kind of picking up. Hold it still for a minute. It's having a hard time focusing. All right, we'll just take our word for it.
And then this is the hot wire, which is smooth. No ridges. So we are just going to take these and twist them together in a clockwise motion. And then you take the supplied wire nut, twist it also in a clockwise motion, and it should tighten down. And I always just give it a tug, make sure it does not come off. We're all good. Inside the wire nut, there is a little spiral of wire you can see. And what happens is as you're turning it, it is basically screwing down onto the wires that you've connected, tightening them together, and then it's also a plastic protective cap which is non-conductive. So it's not, if they touch or it's, ends up in a weird spot inside of the, whatever it is you're wiring, it will be fine. This one does not work. Modern electrical washers are pretty much universally color-coded for how many wires you're clamping together, or the gauge of the wires that you're clamping together. So most often you will find orange in whatever you are purchasing, whether it's a lamp or anything like that. I'm now going to connect the ground wire to this green grounding screw. So first I have to take the screw out, because the ground wire, you can see at the end here, has a little metal ring on it. Almost dropped the screw in there. So I had to take it all the way out and then clamp it back down. Okay, we have our ground connected, the live and the neutral connected, so I'm going to push these back into the opening there. This particular wire has an extra sheathing on it. That is meant to be in the area that is clamped down on the wire clamp. So just make sure it hits there somewhere, and that's just to protect it against added friction. An extra layer of protection. So you want to close this all the way down. All right, so got that clamped down, and now I'm going to put the cover back. And we are now wired and ready for the next step. All right, so this is the flange and the mounting ring. It is all one piece at the moment. So you just need to take your screwdriver and loosen all 3 of these screws. You don't have to take them all the way out, but they need to clear the lip of this flange. So a good ways. You will then push it up, which is counterintuitive, but there is this ring on here that you need to take off. So you can just take your screwdriver and pop that ring off. Now, this will all come apart. Make sure to keep it in order, because that's the order you're going to put it back in. This is the part that you're going to see from your sink. So to install this and get a nice watertight seal, we're going to use some plumber's putty. It's like Play-Doh, but sticky. Use a generous amount, and you want to roll it into a snake. And you're going to want to use more than you think you need. Whoops. So you'll take a nice bead, push it all the way around. You will then take this, you're just going to press that into the opening, and you are going to have putty kind of ooze out. So now that we have that, we're going to go back in the same order that these started in. Up first is this cardboard gasket that just slips on, and then the triangle mount, and then the mounting ring. And you just have to hold them there for a second while you put the snap ring back on. So if you can get it hooked on one side.
Do you want me to hold stuff for you?
You might need to. So So now,
We are filled.
okay, we're gonna push the, loosen these screws a little more. So none of this screws in place. It is all compression. You have the first backup flange, which is that's the triangle is the backup flange. You will then align the mounting bracket to it and use the screws to press them apart. That's what's going to push it up against the bottom of the sink, making a watertight seal. As you do that, did you stop up here?
Yeah.
Okay. As you do that, the plumber's putty will start to ooze out in the sink. Which is fine, you'll just clean that up when we're done. So I'll start by tightening these by hand just because it's easier. So it's very important you get that snap ring seated in the groove properly, because that is what's going to be stopping this from just flying off. Am I in the way?
Nope.
So you want to tighten these all evenly. So tighten one a little bit, move on to the next, tighten it a little bit, keep going around till they are all as tight as they will go. We are nice and secure in there. So, back to the garbage disposal itself. We need to attach the drain pipe to the side. Okay. So, here on the side is the drain. They supply you with the drain pipe. This, what do they call that? Flange, okay.
There's a lot of flanges involved.
I know. So there's the drain pipe, there is a metal flange to clamp it on, there is a rubber gasket, and then 2 bolts to keep it in place. So the proper order for this is going to be in the instructions. So the rubber gasket is going to go on first. And then the pipe is going to be held on by the metal flange, so you can just feed it around. And it is going to sit like so. Drop our bolts in and get them started. And then try to figure out where I put the screwdriver.
It's
Oh, thank you. And it will just point straight down. I want to make sure it is in there nice and tight. You don't want any leaks under your sink. So that is on there. You can check to make sure it's tight because it will not twist back and forth. So right above the drain right here, this is if you have a dishwasher. This is the inlet for the dishwasher drain. Because not everyone has a dishwasher, when they send it from the factory, it's solid. There's a piece of plastic in there. If you hooked your dishwasher up to this and ran it, the water would have nowhere to go. You'd back up in your dishwasher. It would be a huge mess. So, what you need to do is take a screwdriver and a hammer or a mallet and just bust it out. And retrieve the little plug. So now this goes all the way through, ready for the dishwasher hookup. Now it's time to actually mount this under the sink. This right here is how it's going to mount. So you can see there's 3 little curly cues, and then next to each one there's a little lip. That lip is going to fit in right here. You can see that's at a slight angle So it's going to start on this side and work its way up, and that's what's going to push it into place. These little curly cues are, once you get it in there, it gets really hard to turn it. You can stick a screwdriver in there and get some more torque to finish turning it all the way. So we are going to install ours with the drain to the side, to the left side, because that's how it's going to come down to connect to the actual drain. So depending on your setup, you can have it to the right side, you can have it straight forward, straight back, however you need to make it work for your setup. So we just hold that there. Make sure it's level so that all three of those things engage at the same time. Okay, so they are all engaged. Turned most of the way. Use this to finish turning it. Okay, so now that is hooked up. Time for our P-trap, and I'm missing a nut. One of these. Oh, it's right here. So this is the drain pipe. First we're going to feed on the nut, and then this little gasket. And you'll notice it is at an angle. The tapered side should face towards the drain because it's going to fit inside the drain, and along with this it's a compression that will go inside of that pipe, making a watertight seal. So we're going to go ahead and push this in, I think probably all the way for our setup, but we will adjust as needed, so I'm not actually going to tighten it down yet. The next thing so we actually need to put this on there because that's what's going to connect here, and then this one, and then the gasket. Then push it in.
And this is why you do a tri-fit first.
Yes. That is going to connect to the lower side of this P-trap. So this pipe is already built with a tapered end that will fit into here, making that watertight seal. So this just needs to screw on. And because of gravity, I am going to go ahead and screw it on a bit for now, just so it doesn't keep falling while we're trying to work on this. Make sure it is threaded properly, which is kind of hard to do at a weird angle. There we go. And then the next, this is going to fit into here. Barely. So we need another nut on here, as well as the gasket facing down. And what? Those should be.
I think there should be a little bit more overlap.
Okay, so we're gonna try this again. I just got another part. It's a 1.5 inch to a 1.25 inch extender pipe. So this is going to go between the garbage disposal and the P-trap, but it's too long. So I need to trim both this pipe down to size, as well as trim some off of the waste pipe from the garbage disposal. That way we have a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm gonna take about 1 inch off this disposal pipe, and I need to take quite a bit off of this one because it's gonna sit right on top. Make sure I do leave room for the nut here. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to use my oscillating saw. There they are. Safety goggles. I'm going to sand the burrs off. You don't want to leave it all rough like that, because then it's going to catch all the gunk and goo as it's going down your drain, and it's just going to lead to a clog a lot faster than normal. So I'm just going to take this off to trim it. Be a lot easier. I also don't want to nick that. So I've got both my pieces cut. I'm just going to use my sanding block and get all those burrs off. I just want to make sure there's nothing that's going to encourage clogging. These are not being glued, so we don't have to worry about like good adhesion or anything. It's all compression fittings. So it's really just getting rid of them for the sake of clogging. Okay, that's all cleaned out. So this is going to go into the P-trap with a little washer and a nut that will attach here. I'm just going to dry fit everything still. And then now I'm going to reattach the waste pipe to the garbage disposal with the metal flange. Now to connect these, you'll see I can't really push it down. So I'm just going to disconnect the P-trap from the drain. That way it's an upward motion on both counts, but first I need to add the nut and the washer. Again, the tapered side goes into the pipe that it's fitting around. So I'm going to make sure that is facing down. So this is going to go up there and onto here, and you can twist everything around until it fits just right. I'm going to start by connecting this pipe because it's probably the most difficult just because of the angle of the pipe. Once you get the threads started, it does go pretty easily. Get that nice and tight. And we're going to tighten up the drain pipe. Going to tighten up this guy. Let's see if I can show you this. So hopefully on camera you can see here's the pipe that the black has inserted into, and this is the washer. And it sits down on so that that taper fits into the white pipe. And then as you tighten it down, it compresses it and pushes it even more, creating that watertight seal. Okay. Those are on, everything's tight. We will be testing for leaks in a second. Last thing to do is to connect the dishwasher. So as you recall, right here is the dishwasher inlet. Back here is the hose coming from the dishwasher. So all we do is put that over the nozzle. Make sure to push your clamp down so that it will clamp onto the nozzle, and then tighten her up. So I've already turned the water back on, so now it's time to test. I just want to go through a quick checklist in my head, make sure that I have everything connected that needs to be. So I have my hot water, I have my cold water, I have my faucet fully connected with the weight, I have my dishwasher hooked up, I have the full drain assembly hooked up. We are hooked up to the drain. I have the drain in the sink all in with plumber's putty. I did clean that up from the top. A lot of it oozed out. Oh, I need to plug in the garbage disposal. Alright, so we're going to give everything a quick test, make sure it works, and make sure we have no leaks. So I ran the water for a bit and got maybe an inch of water in the bottom of the sink. This is a fairly big sink, so that's quite a bit of water, and then let it run all through at once so that to see if it would back up, to see if to make sure it can withstand the force of all of the water being drained at once. Typically, like if you're doing dishes, you have the sink full, then you just pull the plug and drain it. That's a lot more water than if you were just to turn on the faucet and let it run, because that's just a steady stream, the same pace the whole time. So to get a nice good test, fill it up a bit, pull the plug, and let that all go at once. So it went through very well. I feel no leaks on the drain. I feel no leaks on the supply lines. I'm going to be running the dishwasher here, and we'll test that and make sure it works. Okay, so I think that's all good down here, so let me take you up above. So here's our pretty new sink. Here we have our cold water. Pull it forward to get hot water. Got our little spray there, flip it back and forth. And if you have it on the spray mode, when you turn it off, it automatically kicks back to the normal mode. Just our garbage disposal plug. Seals really well. This sink came with this tray to put in the bottom, which is kind of cool so you don't scratch it up too quickly. It even came with a baggie of extra rubber feet and bumpers for the tray. Thought that was pretty handy. I want to make sure the faucet doesn't leak out the handle, because that was something I saw in the reviews, and I can't tell if this is just me making a big old mess. Back here. Okay. Turn it on. Nope, I don't see any leaks in the faucet itself. That's good. I'm not entirely sure the purpose of it, but the sink also came with this little decorative cover for the drain. So it just sits there to cover it up, so you don't have to look at your ugly drain, apparently. So far, I do like this sink quite a bit. It was an all-in-one sink from Home Depot. I'll leave a link to it in the description in case you're interested in getting one. We did a little bit of shopping for this style of sink with the hard edges, not the rounded edges, single bowl. I don't think you can tell on camera, but there are some very faint grooves in it where it is just ever so slightly bent to channel the water all towards the drain so you don't get a puddle somewhere. And there you have it. We got our countertop installed, we got our sink installed, we got our garbage disposal installed. Not too bad for a day's work. 2 days, really. If you're enjoying these videos, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. See you next time! Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also be sure to follow us on Instagram @rainbowguysdiy. See you next time.